Hello friends, welcome to next tutorial in ChatGPT RPA series. In today's video, we are going to write code which controls mouse movement on your operating system so that it doesn't go to sleep mode. Below in video description, you will find links to GitHub source code and YouTube playlist. So let's browse to our GitHub RPA repository. Inside the README file, if you are looking for some other web scraping code, you will find links to a lot of different web scraping examples here, which perform variety of different tasks. Now in this particular video, we are going to write code which helps you control OS mouse movement so that your operating system doesn't go to sleep mode. Before we dig into the code, I want to read a disclaimer. Please do not use this code for any unethical purpose. If you are running this script to maintain an active status on your employer devices, it is possible that your employer may also have the similar scripts, which is monitoring and detecting such bots. So in those cases, using this kind of unethical code, it may result into some unnecessary difficulties and maybe some legal consequences for you. So it is recommended to utilize this code for ethical purposes only, and please use it for generating some meaningful content. One example of such uses is that most of the offshore developers nowadays, they utilize virtual desktop machine, and these VDI operating systems, they tend to sleep after a certain period of inactivity. So in those cases, you can imply such scripts. Another example is, for example, you want to download or browse for near real-time content. So that you need to visit some website and you want to note down some numbers and update your database accordingly. In those kinds of scenarios, you can employ these scripts. So the code we are going to write today definitely helps, and it produces the similar content here. So in following sections, we are going to write generic functions that can be looped over to perform various activities until interrupted. Or you can choose to expire this. For example, you can create a while loop which interrupt it after certain intervals. So in those notebook, we'll need three different Python packages here: PyR2GUI, Pillow, and Selenium. And I'm going to walk you through the details later. Also in this notebook, I have included code generated by ChatGPT. So if you go and query ChatGPT, it's going to generate similar kind of code. And obviously it works fine, but definitely that's not the recommended way we are going to go about it. Instead, we are going to customize this code for our purpose. So let's open a new notebook here, and we are going to import the OS module, list out the content of the current directory here. All right, as you can see, there are a couple of PNG and there's a Chrome driver.exe file here. Let's clear the output. And first thing what we want to do, we want to install those three packages we talked about: PyR2GUI, Pillow, and Selenium. Again, I already have this installed, so I'm not going to do this over again. But in case if you don't, please run these commands: pip install and all of these modules one at a time. So let's do import PyR2GUI. And first thing I'm going to do, I want to set up an interval. So what this interval is, this is the interval when you want to move your mouse. So for example, every 20 seconds, which may be a little too frequent, so maybe please change it according to your need. You want to keep it like 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 10 minutes. So every 20 seconds, I'm going to create a while loop. What it does, it calls a function on PyR2GUI library, which function is move rel. So it's relatively what it does, it takes your absolute position of your mouse and it moves it by certain duration. So for example, you want to move it by like a couple of pixels here. So once you see that in action, it will make more sense to you. And then I'm going to move it back. All right. So that's a very simple function, and that's what every 20 seconds it moves your mouse. And then you want to call sleep in this while loop, for that activity. So let's run this. Once you see that, it will make more sense to you. I've set the interval to 20 seconds. So what I expect this code to do, after 20 seconds, I expect this to move my mouse cursor by certain pixels. So let's wait for 10 more seconds. And you will see that this code moves my mouse. All right. I don't know if you noticed that or not, it was too tiny, but it really did move the mouse here. Please try it out on your machine. But this is not what we want to do. This is absolutely not the good way of doing it. So instead, what we want to do, in the previous section, we have created a Selenium script. Let me restart my kernel at the same time. So in that, you want to do something meaningful. So for example, you are reading a stock prices or live inventory from a website, and you want to update your live inventory after certain time. So we are going to write that kind of code. So for example, let's go to finance.yahoo.com, and I want to download stock prices of a certain stock. So again, we are going to make use of this Selenium script here. Again, if you, in case you want to know what this code is exactly is doing, I'm not going to go through the details. I'm going to include the link to that repository, that particular video I have discussed this. That video is entirely about Selenium. You'll be able to find what this code does. All the description is already discussed in that video. So here, next thing is we'll write a very simple function. All this function does, it takes that WebDriver, open a window. The only difference is here I'm going to, because in you want your OS to keep be awake, like so you want to every 20 seconds or every 200 seconds is going to open up your Chrome window, does something, and it's going to quit that Chrome window again. So that's why I'm running that Chrome driver in a headless, in a non-headless way. So that means an interactive way. All right, so WebDriver path is already initiated. Here we want to say option equals to options. So what that option is going to do, simply what this code does, it opens a Chrome window. It literally opens. It's not running in a non-headless way. That's what it means. And then simply we want to call that URL. And literally what you want to do, you want to read the content of the URL and push it to your data warehouse, and maybe note it down, something like that. Do something meaningful here instead of just, moving your mouse here. All right, so what this code does, and then I'm going to take the screenshot instead, and I'm going to save that as a new screenshot. All right, now don't forget to close the driver here. So again, just to recap, what this function is going to do is going to open a Chrome window after a certain time, or whenever this function is called, and is going to browse that to that particular web page, take a screenshot, and quit the driver again. Now let's call this function every 300 seconds. So every 5 seconds, for example, depending on the requirement, you want to take the screenshot or take the read the content of that particular page, whatever you are trying to do. So simply all I'm going to every 300 seconds I'm going to call this function. So very simply that's what this function does. Let's go run this one more time. So that I want to make sure that this code works. We have defined the functions here. Let's define the content. It's giving me some error. Okay, WebDriver. I think I haven't run this in a sequence here. Let me rerun, because I interrupted my notebook here. So let me restart kernel here and let me rerun that again. See, so that's how it opens a Chrome window in a non-headless way, in an interactive way. Please run this code. If you have any question, please open an issue at my GitHub repository, and I'll be happy to help you out. Thank you very much.